Welcome back to Off the Monster. My name is Derek. I'm here with Mr. Brown and Jeremy. We're gonna dive straight into this. This isn't gonna be a too long episode, so let's dive straight into it. We're gonna be talking about the Hall of Fame ballot. When you hear this, which will be Tuesday, the 24th, that will be the day the Hall of Fame ballot gets released. So the three of us are gonna go through, name our Hall of Fame ballots, and pick a couple guys out of the guys we think are going to the Hall and explain why we think that. So I don't know, Mr. Brown, you want to start us off and you want to go first?
Now I'll let Jeremy go. Remember, it's a PG rated show, man. Everybody's got to wear their clothes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah. So looking at this ballot, it's a tough ballot. It really is. You got some of the steroid guys on here. You've got some guys who they had good careers, but would you sit here and say they're a lock for the Hall of Fame? It's really up and down. But really, if I had a vote, which way would I lean? Scott Rowland, I would put on there because to me, it seems like for a period of time, he was one of the best third basemen of his era. And it might have only been 2-3 years that you could say that about him, but still, that's how I look at the Hall of Fame. If at any point in their career would you sit there and say they're the best at their position, then yeah, they should get some consideration. So Scott Rowland, yes. Todd Helton, I probably would put yes, even though yeah, his numbers are from the Rockies and that, but he is so much that organization. Even as a player, he was just so much that organization, and I think there's some contributions there. The one that I will say this, and I know a lot of people are going to come back as no. But Mark Burley's on there, and I think he should have some consideration. Does he have the numbers of pitchers that are in the Hall of Fame? No, but again, he's in a different era. Mark Burley is in that era where they started getting away from complete games, and a quality start was 7 innings. I think now it's 5 innings, right? So to me, Mark Burley is at the beginning of where they started curving how long pitchers can go and pitch counts and that. And he's got a couple of he's got a no-hitter, he's got a perfect game, World Series winner, and he was a dude that would pitch like he's double parked. I mean, he was just up there, and all he would do is just throw and catch. That's it. So those are 3 guys that I've got looking at the ballot here. I'm sure there's others I could probably make a case for, but just kind of looking at it, that's where I lean.
Yeah, you must have been peeking at my sheet because I did have Rowland. I did have Helton. Rowland didn't play for the greatest teams. Philly was not that great when he played for them, and he still put up some pretty good numbers. Helton, yep, same thing. And I did have Burley on my list. Just once again, yeah, he was in that era when they did win the World Series. But for the most part, a lot of the teams he played on, if he had played on a top league team like Red Sox in the early 2000s, even the Cardinals, Yankees, he might have put up some better numbers, but he didn't get the run support that I think he would have got on if he had been on a playoff team that was in playoff contention every year. If I had to put a vote out there and I was ignored, and I know, Jeremy, you like to talk about the steroid era too. If it wasn't for steroids, Andy Pettit would be there for me
Wow.
because he was a stud, man. I wish he didn't do steroids, kind of like with Clemens, but he owned up to it. He's like, I did it. I'm horrible for what I did. I wish I hadn't done it, but he owned up for it, and he was just a class guy all around, and that says a lot. He's a Yankee. I'm a Red Sox fan. To say something like that, it's you didn't have a problem with Yankee players if they were class guys like Derek Jeter, Aaron Judge, Andy Pettit. Obviously, A Fraud was a joke, but one other person I did have on my list is Carlos Beltran. Uh, just because I thought he was a prime time player. yeah, the whole incident, Houston, he was on a team. We won't go there, but he put up some really great numbers through his career too. And if I was just to put this together, I would probably put Gary Sheffield on there. I have to admit. Um, I think just a top. He's a great clubhouse guy, top all around player. I don't think he'll ever get the votes, um, but he he came to play every day.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
ballot.
Sheffield was a gamer for sure. And again, there's a bunch of guys on this ballot that you can make a case for, and he's one of them. Where I wouldn't be mad if he got in, and I also wouldn't be heartbroken if he didn't. It's just it's a weird ballot. What do you got for us, stats?
All right, I got the biggest ballot out of anyone here. Because I was running out of room at the end. So I'm gonna group guys together. I'm gonna group my trio of Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, and Manny Ramirez together. Beltran had the whole cheating scandal, whatever. But tail end of his career, yes, you could argue that yeah, he might have been the mastermind behind that. And he was the big name in the MLB report. Also, didn't get suspended for it. Nothing against him, whatever. I mean, also, dude, the guy, stepped up in big moments. I remember like seeing stuff on MLB Network about, look at like they're almost like throwback MLB Network, like looking back at things and going like, oh, Beltran with the Astros in the '04 playoffs, and he was just wild, like crazy good in the playoffs. And I think that's kind of where, like, also I remember the 2013 Cardinals and Beltran being on that team, and so I think Beltran, I think he gets in with Manny and A-Rod. Yes, you have the steroid asterisk there, but also too, my view of it is if you're gonna let the commissioner of baseball, who allowed it to happen in the Hall of Fame, kind of gotta let the players in too. At the end of the day, to museum, if you wanna, put an asterisk on their plaque or whatever, I don't know. But if you're gonna let, if you're gonna let the commissioner of the sport, who allowed it to happen, in, you kind of gotta allow it. Then I'm gonna group together my relievers. I'm going with K-Rod and Billy Wagner. I'm a big reliever guy. I think if you're an elite reliever, you should get into the Hall of Fame.
You're right. I
Um,
forgot Billy Wagner. He deserves
Yeah.
to be.
then I'm gonna group together my defensive guys. I'm going with Torrey Hunter and Andrew Jones. I think they both deserve to get in. Both very good fenders. I know Jones had like that decline late in his career, but he still played, I think, 17 years or something outrageous like
I mean,
that.
career 250 hitter though.
Yeah, but when you're
Right,
that
but
good, it's like Ozzie Smith. No one looks at Ozzie Smith's hitting stats, and you can make an argument Andrew Jones is the best defensive center fielder we've ever seen. You can make the argument. So that's why I think he gets in. Same thing with Torrey Hunter. He won 9 straight Gold Gloves, so I'm putting him in. I still think he meant a lot to that Twins franchise. So
You could
I'm a,
convince me of Torrey Hunter before Andrew Jones because of the drop off that Andrew Jones. It was just a dramatic drop off that he had right around the
yeah,
steroid era. Torrey Hunter, look at Gary Sheffield, didn't put up the home run numbers, but he was a great teammate from everybody you heard from. He was a
yes,
yeah,
baller. We make fun of him with the cop in the bullpen for
yeah,
falling over and making the W
yeah,
in the was it 2013?
yeah. Hold on one
yep.
sec. We're gonna let Mr. Taylor in.
All right.
As we're going, Mr. Taylor's coming in. So we'll recap in a second. Mr. Taylor, we will recap for you in half a second. We'll recap it for you. I'm gonna finish listing off my Hall of Fame ballot. Then we'll recap for you. So I have right now I have Beltran, I have Manny, A-Rod, K-Rod, Billy Wagner, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones. I'm gonna throw in Todd Helton. I agree with Todd Helton. I think the chorus factor actually should help him get in because the fact that he was at altitude and still played every single day at Coors, and also too, Coors isn't the most home run friendly ballpark. People think it is. It's more of a doubles paradise and triples paradise. And then Scott Rowland kind of fits into that Andrew Jones, 2000 elite defense. I think Rowland was probably, you can make the argument Rowland was maybe a little better, like more consistent over time offensively than those two. So right now I have Beltran, Helton, Hunter, Jones. That's 4. Manny, A-Rod is 6. K-Rod, Rowland is 8. Billy Wagner is 9. Anyone want to know who my 10th guy is?
Omar Vizquel.
Nope.
How many Red Sox are still left?
Lackey, Napoli, Arroyo,
Napoli,
Ellsbury. No, it's not Napoli.
Jason Worth.
Nope.
Jimmy
I don't
Rollins.
know. Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
go with
know.
Jeff Kent.
Okay, I
I
could
mean,
see that.
you look at him in terms of I like guys who are elite at that position. That's why I have K Rod and Billy Wagner, and I considered Huston Street, and I always call him Houston Street because he used to kill me on MLB 2K games, so I made fun of his name.
Is
But
this
no, I'm
Kent's
going with
last
Jeff.
year on the ballot?
What?
I feel like this has to be Kent's last year
I
on the
think
ballot.
it is. I think it
Think
or it's
so.
close to. So that's
Yep.
also why too. I knew he was near the end of his ballot, but he's first in home runs and RBIs for second baseman. You know,
Yep.
and he's top 6 in pretty much every offensive stat for second baseman. And he is, if you like, he had some of the best hitting stats as second baseman. Yeah, I think it was like the best OPS plus, I think, or something like that, since Rogers Hornsby retired at second base. Like,
Yeah, offensively, he's better than Ryan Sandberg, who's in the Hall of
yeah,
Fame.
exactly. And I think too, when you're looking at the Hall of Fame, if you are, arguably a top 5 player at your position all time, you got to get in. I think you kind of have to get in. It's yes, I'm voting for 10 guys. Yes, partially, some of these guys, I also want to keep them on the ballot because I think they deserve to stay on the ballot too. So like Torrey Hunter, not going to get in this year, but I want him to stay on that ballot. But I think Jeff Kent, yeah, top of his position. That's kind of why I went with the relief pitchers. They were elite relievers. That's why I went with, Torrey Hunter and Andrew Jones. They're both elite defenders, and they were still both really, really good players overall. So I think that's kind of how I see it. And then like the Todd Helton meant so much to the Rockies, all that stuff.
Yep.
So that's my ballot. Beltran, Helton, Hunter, Jones, Kent, Manny, A-Rod, K-Rod, Roland, and Billy Wagner.
That's quite the class.
Yeah. You guys want to go over your ballots for Mr. Taylor? Mr. Brown, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Jeremy.
Yeah, this is Tristan Stash Cassis. Yeah.
I'm digging the new look, man. I like it.
I had Scott Rowland, Todd Helton, Gary Sheffield, Carlos Beltran, Mark Burley. I think I had somebody that you had mentioned.
You said you forgot about Billy Wagner.
Yeah, Billy Wagner should have been on there too. And if I'm gonna start, my age is starting to get to me, I'm throwing Andy Pettit on there. Just because I thought he was a class guy. He did the steroids, he owned up to it. He's one of the very few people who did own up to it. And that's why in America, we'll forgive you. You own up to that shit, we're gonna forgive you. Just own up to it. These guys who didn't own up to it, I hope they never get in. Pete Rose didn't do it till, I don't know what took him to finally own
Every
up to
time
it.
he opens his mouth, though, he hurts his chances.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he doesn't help.
Jeremy?
So, yeah, so mine, I picked Scott Rowland. I picked Todd Helton, and then I went with Mark Burley. And really to kind of give you a Cliff Notes version here of it, Mr. Taylor. It's one of those ballots to me. It's a weird ballot because there's a lot of guys on here. You can make a case for them to get in the Hall of Fame, but you can also make a case for them not to get in the Hall of Fame if you base it on numbers. And when you look at a lot of these guys, they all fall into that. Mark Burley, he didn't have the stats of a lot of pitchers that are in the Hall of Fame, but he was a winner, and especially on a White Sox team, yeah, for many years the White Sox were awful, and Scott Rowland's in there too, right? Those Philly years, he was probably one of the best third basemen, and then once he got over to the Cardinals, he was still in his prime, but he was starting to decline, and he became a winner. So that's where mine was at. How about yours, sir?
Can I say this on Roland real quick? I feel like he's like Nolan Arenado, just underappreciated.
That's a good comp. I would go with that.
So like less appreciated, maybe not as good, but
right.
Mr. Taylor, I don't know if you have the Hall of Fame ballot in front of you. You do? Who would you vote for if you were voting for the Hall of Fame?
One person only.
Picks. You only get one pick. Who are you picking? Mike Napoli?
Mike Napoli.
I knew it. I called it.
He did. He
I
said
called it before we started recording. I told Mr. Brown, I'm like, he's going to pick Mike Napoli. Watch.
100%. actually, I was talking to my wife about this earlier. I think it's a travesty that the players don't get to vote for the Hall of Fame, that it's based upon the writers. And I really like this. I think it's called the Sunset Committee or Twilight Committee, where it's once they've fallen off of the ballot, then it's a players committee that gets to vote. That's how Fred McGriff got in.
It's not just players. It's like players and like executives, and then there's like 3 writers. It's like 3 writers, like 5 owners and executives, and then like 8 former players.
Yeah. I mean, I really think it should be up to the players who gets in, because they're the guys that play the game. You know, they have more of an intrinsic connection to it than writers do, because they're like us. They're fans. I mean, they can bring some legitimacy to it, but in the end, I think it should go back to the players, or it should be for the players to decide. But looking at the ballot earlier today, I mean, there's some you can make a strong case for. I keep hearing Scott Rowland. I know he's a World Series champion. I know he had multiple Gold Gloves at third base. He's got a good pedigree. I wouldn't be mad if he made it. I don't think he's tracking at 63%. Was I saw earlier today?
No, that was last year. That was what he got last year. He's tracking at I think 80% right now.
Oh, is
just
he?
shy
Okay,
of 80%.
I saw a tweet today that had him at 63. It must have been an old stat.
Yeah, that was last year's what he got last year.
I like Andrew Jones. I think Andrew Jones should be in. I mean, the guy was just just an absolute stud in the field. Over 300 home runs. World Series champ. Just I think a good guy. I like Omar Vizquel from his defensive capabilities. Now his offensive numbers were probably not the best, but damn good glove.
If he didn't have off the field stuff, I would have voted for him. But
did he have some family violence issues?
Yeah.
Didn't he get arrested for hurting his wife or trying to hurt his wife or something? Jeff Kent, I think should be in. You know, all-time home run leader for second baseman, world champion at 89, just solid in the field. I like Todd Helton. Do I think he's a true Hall of Famer? I don't know. He had 17 years in the league.
Yeah, I will say this on Helton. I do want to bring this up because I think Alex Spears said it last year. He said that maybe Helton doesn't have the same counting stats as some other guys, but if you were a Rockies fan growing up at the time Helton was playing, and you go to the Hall of Fame, you want to see the best Rockies player you've ever seen in that Hall of Fame, especially when it's a guy like Helton, whose counting stats are pretty close to Hall of Fame level, if not Hall of Fame level.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if he got in. I really wouldn't. I mean, because literally 17 years for the Colorado Rockies. He is Mr. Rocky, and I wouldn't be mad if he got in. I mean, he did play in one World Series in 2007 against the Red Sox. Worked out really well for us, not so much for them. But you know, I would go with Todd Helton, Jeff Kent, Scott Rowland. I really like Andrew Jones. And you can make a case for Carlos Beltran. Like how I rolled the R there.
Oh, yeah. Making your wife proud.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. But there's Andy Pettitte. He's got some good pedigree.
You can make a case for a lot of people.
He's a World Series champion. He played, I think he also was in the 2005 World Series with the Astros against the White Sox.
Yeah, he was.
Gary Sheffield, there's an argument for Gary Sheffield. He's got over 500 home runs. I don't think he's got any direct ties that I know of to being actually busted for steroids, but he was in that steroid era, and I'm sure he participated. But you know, he
should get in the Hall of Fame because of his batting stance. How anybody can do that and make contact like he did, you should get in.
Have y'all ever tried to hit like that with that batting stance? It sucks.
Yes.
It hurts. It's no fun. And God bless him for hitting 500 bombs with that stance. But that's really where I'm at. Helton, Kent, Rowland. And, you know, I wouldn't be mad at Pettitte. Would definitely like to see Andrew Jones in there.
You're going to vote for Mike Napoli just to try and keep him on the ballot.
Yeah, Mike Napoli. Yep.
Oh, I would 100% vote for Mike Napoli. That piss missile that he hit off of Justin Verlander.
This is worth it alone.
13 ALCS.
So we got 10 minutes left with our King Jeremy here.
We
Yeah.
got
And
me.
I do want to throw this out there because we did talk about what used to be called the Veterans Committee.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They get the vote after they drop off that 10-year and we're still on the ballot. They hit that 10-year mark. It's now called the
Yeah.
Contemporary Era Committee. So there are 10 candidates, and curious to hear.
You can only vote
I
for
think what our number one,
3.
I have a consensus what our number one is going to be, but we'll go through the list here.
Yeah, they already voted for it though previously though. I will
Oh,
say
did
that.
they? I
Yeah.
thought it was
Yeah, because
two.
McGriff got in.
Yeah, McGriff got
Oh,
it.
that's right.
They vote for that in
Yeah.
December.
So is that a one time only?
Yeah,
Or
they
they
vote for
fall
it
off
once
that?
every year. I don't
Huh?
know. No, you have to be like selected for it every year though. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a selection
So
process for that.
Bonds can get back on it. Clemens can get on it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
feel like they have to fall off the cliff sooner or later
The-
because the
yeah.
same guys aren't on it.
They'll get in eventually when the younger crop of voters and the players who are playing now start to get into that into that committee. They'll
That
and the
committee is
Yeah.
just not all baseball players; it's umpires
well,
and
yeah, but
Yeah,
that's what I'm
executives and
saying.
that.
But what I'm saying when
Yeah.
the younger guys get in, like the younger executives and the younger who grew up during the bonds and
yeah.
whatever.
But those younger guys are not. Well, I kind of disagree on who it should be in as the group or that committee. It shouldn't just be anybody who was on the ballot. I think that it's any veteran, right?
Um,
Or is it
I don't know.
just those who? It should be only those who are elected to the Hall of Fame.
Well, so
That's a
here,
question.
That's
here's where I'll
that's
hit
the way
on
I look at it as
this.
a fan. You said it, Mr. Taylor. Your stats is that the players should have a vote in this, and
Yeah.
when it comes to that contemporary era ballot, it should just be the Hall of Fame voters. And I get that there's less and less, but it does fluctuate because people die, but people come on it.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think if Bonds would be on the Hall of Fame ballot in 10 years and have another 10-year run, I think he'd easily get in.
Yeah, but
well, I
I
think
don't
when
think
it
that's
comes to
deserving
these
because
committees and that I think there should actually be an overhaul of how the votes are, starting with I know it's the baseball writers that get first crack at it, but I think
and
they
some
should
of these
open.
guys are just complete assholes.
They
Yeah,
are
there are
right.
guys who turn in blank ballots just to
Yep.
turn in a blank ballot. And let's say, I think there were 4 people that we know have turned in blank ballots this year.
Right.
They're like
takes-
Derek Jeter Hall of Fame ballots.
It takes 12 people to overturn 4 blank ballots
Right.
to just get the 75%.
Right. And that's why I think there should be an overhaul. Like if you turn in a blank ballot, then you're not going to vote the next year. I'm not
Joe
saying you're going to
Schmo
lose it
from
Court doesn't
permanently,
count.
St. Louis
but
Chronicle
right.
should not be voting.
Right. I think they should open it up to beat guys who, maybe they are some local paper or something like that. But a lot of those guys don't have votes because technically they're not in print. They are just a websites and that. Those guys should have votes. Players should have votes. And I'm talking like right away. Not this, okay, after so many tries, it'll go to this committee and that. Like, no, I think if you are a player and you've had 10 years in, you get a vote. Whether you're in the Hall of Fame or not, you were in the league for 10 years, a lot of players. You've seen a lot
Maybe
of
you have to
players.
go more than 10 years though, because there are still a decent amount of guys who play 10 years. But I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. I do want to get to something though,
Yep.
before we finish this off, because I want to go around each person, one person at a time. We're gonna name someone who that is either in the prime of their career now or will be entering the prime. So don't pick like Miguel Cabrera. Pick someone who's in their prime or about to enter their prime, who you think will eventually be a Hall of Famer. We're going to go 3 picks and we'll just go around in a circle. We'll go on my screen. We'll go in the order of my screen. So Mr. Brown, Jeremy, Mr. Taylor, and then I'll go fourth and we'll just go through. Just name the player. You don't have to explain it. Just name the player.
Otani, Judge, and Devers.
No, one at a time. One at a time.
Well, there you go. I was under
Right.
pressure, man. I was the first. I was under
Just
pressure.
name one. Just name
Hey,
one.
there's my 3.
All right,
right.
Jeremy.
Me? Am I going 3 or are we going
Just
to
name
try
one.
to do this?
Just name,
All right, name one. Mike Trout.
Mr. Taylor.
Mike Napoli.
Active player. And you can't pick
Act-
someone anyone else has picked.
So active player that
Yes.
is in their prime that we think is going to make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, or about to hit their prime.
Or about to hit their prime. I'm going to go unconventional because he's got 5 silver sluggers, and if he stays healthy, Xander Bogaerts.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Ooh, all right.
So we have Otani, Devers, and Judge for Mr. Brown. That's great. Mr. Taylor, Xander
Another one.
Bogaerts, Jeremy.
Xander Bogaerts.
Jeremy, who'd you say? I already forgot.
Trout.
Trout. Oh yeah. All right,
Yep.
cool. You went Trout. I'm gonna go Yordan Alvarez.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you bring an Astro into this talk?
Yeah, but it was really only his first year this year. He was injured during his rookie year mostly.
2019 was his rookie year when he got called up. It was outrageous. He had like
And you
280
can't
with
count
like
the COVID year.
But 2019, yes, well, it's still a season that he played. And 2021, he was good. This past year, up until he got injured, he was like right up there with Judge. You know, like Judge had like 30 homers in June, and Alvarez had like 26. So then he got injured, and it kind of slowed down a little bit, but stepped it up in the postseason. Jeremy, you got 2 more picks. Name one right here.
Number 2. Oh man, I know what 2 of you are probably going to say to this, but I do have to go with it. Manny Machado.
I was going to save that for my last pick.
Yeah, I think he will go in the Hall of Fame.
I think he might be a first ballot.
Right. I don't like him, but he's a solid player. He's going to put up those numbers.
Yeah. By the end of his career, though, too, I think some of the stuff that he's done is going to kind of get forgotten a little bit.
It probably will.
And especially, too, remember, he is the leader of that Padres team.
Scumbag.
And if that Padres team does go on and win a World Series,
Yep.
He's the leader of that team. I do have someone else from the Padres, so we'll have 3 guys from the Padres eventually. Mr. Taylor, you got 2 more picks. Name one of them.
Mike Napoli.
I'm guessing number 3 is going to be Napoli as well.
It's going to be Napoli as well. I'm looking at my wall of autographs. So in
Ryan
their
Brazier.
Still, yeah, I was going to say Ryan Brazier. I was going to say Ryan Brazier.
You were trying to get me to spit on my phone.
I would have to go with Nolan or Arenado.
Nice pick.
Yeah, defense too is really going to help him.
Yep.
I think he's got a good shot at it. I really do.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's arguably better than Roland. I think he arguably will be better than Roland by the time he retires. So, and if Roland gets in, you got to make the case for Arenado. I'm going to stick with the Padres. I'm gonna go Juan Soto. I have a bold claim. I'm writing a column that's going up Wednesday, the 25th. My bold take for this year is that Juan Soto is gonna be closing in on a 500 on base percentage this year.
Wow, nice.
He had a 490 on base in 2020. I know COVID or whatever, short year. Still, 490 is outrageous. Yep. And in the second half of last year of 2020, second half of 2021, he had a 525 on base in the second half of 21.
Yeah. So I guess that'll bring me to my number 3. And really I've got I guess the best way to put it would be 3 and 3A because I can't pick between the 2 of them. But one would be Mookie Betts and the other one would be Raffy. I think both of them.
Mr. Brown already said Raffy, so
I know he did, but yeah. So, but I'm going with Mookie for the sake of this. And I think when all is said and done, there are people that are starting to say, well, he's starting to decline a little bit. Honestly, I think he's just been so good that last year he just regressed a little bit because that's what happens, right? You can't be a 40-40 guy every season. Like it just doesn't happen. So I think he's just going to be consistent the rest of his career, and he's going to put up some numbers that'll get him in.
All right, Mr. Taylor, you have one more pick, and then I got my last pick after that.
I mean, I keep
Mike Napoli.
hearing Mike Napoli. I got concerned for a minute because I looked at my wallet of autographs and I didn't see Napoli's at first. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't have a Mike Napoli autograph. And there he's right at eye level. So he's there, he's safe, and he's sound here at the Fenway South. I mean, I keep hearing his name mentioned in Hall of Fame talk, and he just recently turned down a $400 million contract with the Nationals.
I
So I'm
just said I
going-
just said Juan Soto. I beat you
Oh,
to
you
it.
did say Juan Soto. I didn't hear you.
I beat you to
Oh,
it.
got it. Then I'm going to go with Mike Napoli. You already said
Just go with
Betts.
Jose Ramirez. Go with Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez. That's a good one. You could do Acuna.
Yeah. He's got to stay
You know
healthy.
what? I'll go. I'm going to go with a steroid kid, Tatis Jr.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
That's,
I mean, he's got the talent.
He's got the talent. He was on his way. If he could just stay healthy and turn this around, I mean, we know that steroids are a stigma, and it's going to be hard for him to overcome. But the one thing he's got on his side is time.
Yeah, and it's less so with younger Hall of Fame voters as well. So by the time he's gonna get to Hall of Fame voting, by the time he retires and has the 5-year wait period, yeah, it makes sense. I'm gonna go off the board with my pick. I'm going with the Cleveland Guardians. I'm not going with Jose Ramirez. Anyone want to take a guess?
Josh Naylor.
No.
Terry Francona. the bat boy.
Power.
I don't know.
Power.
No.
Who's the guy who sings? Who's the guy who sounds like he sings songs?
I don't know.
I can't think of another Cleveland Indians player besides Ramirez or Naylor.
I'm going with Emmanuel Clase.
Oh, that's right. You are high on him.
Yes, I'm extremely high on him. I think he's already the best best closer, best relief pitcher in baseball, and I think he's only 24.
Yeah.
Like all he has to do is stay healthy, and he's gonna be. Yeah, he's still only 24.
You know, I could see you doing that just because you put K-Rod in. So if you put K-Rod in, I'm not surprised you go with that.
Yeah. Well, also too, through 3 seasons. 2019, he didn't pitch in 2020 because he got surgery. Then 21 and 22. In 169 games, he has a 147 career ERA.
That's good, right? That's good.
Yeah. Talk about good. He's got the last 2 seasons. He's got last 2 seasons combined. He has 148 games, 142 innings. He has 66 saves and a 133 ERA.
Yeah, I'd take that.
That's outrageous. And he's only 24. He's only going to get better.
Right.
He will be 25. He'll be 25 in March.
Man.
But yeah, that is he gives another 10 years like that. Like that's going to be a lot.
Oh yeah.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he'll be in. He'll be setting records.
Yeah. All right. Anyone got any honorable mentions they want to name that they didn't get to, or?
Let's see. I've got to hop off here, but
David
I would say I would say honorable mention. I would go. Oh man, gosh, you know what? Nolan Arenado would be, and I know he was already said, but that is an honorable mention for me.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, Paul Goldschmidt. That's another one. Right. Those are some guys that can do it. What I think is interesting is what this does look like in the future with some of these steroid guys, right? We talked about Tatis. There will be others. I'm sure of it. There will be others that'll get hit
Ryan
with
Braun.
it. Right. You know, what do you do? And, you know I got to hop off here, so I'm not trying to open it up for debate, but at least where I stand with it is the Hall of Fame is a museum and it tells the story of baseball. And we should at least be able to tell the story of steroids. You can put it up there. You can have your asterisks, or you can have, something on the bust that says, Barry Bonds suspected of steroids, Sammy Sosa, whatever. You can put them in that era, and kind of like dead ball era, right? Because that tells the story of baseball. And you might not like it, but like I said, it's a story, and to me, a museum, it's kind of like, and I'm not making a comparison by any means to this, but it's the best analogy I can come up with. There's a Holocaust museum. Nobody likes the Holocaust. Nobody wants to go and remember it, but we do it for a reason, because it's the story of our history. And it's a black mark on history, but we still need to be able to tell it. And that's just how I feel with baseball. And like I said, I'm not making that comparison that, steroids is like the Holocaust. It's just there's black marks that need to be told if you're going to tell a story of a history of something. And to erase it or to just block it out, it just, to me, it just it kind of feels sour.
It goes back
you're
to my
not telling
point of
everything.
Bud Selig. If he's in,
Right.
you know,
Right,
he's the
it's a
one
good
who allowed
point.
it.
Right. Under his watch, he I don't think he knowingly encouraged it,
But he knew
But,
that it was
man,
happening and didn't
he
stop it.
knew it was happening. He was all about the home run chase and, hey, we got to save baseball and this is how we're going to do it. So he did encourage it to a point, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So there is a good argument there for you stats. And like I said, it's just, I'm very interested to see what happens here, because
Yes.
with these committees going forward, maybe a Clemens or a Bonds does pop back up. And do they get in?
Yeah.
We'll see. So,
All right.
all
Yeah.
right, I got to hop off,
Yep.
guys.
I
but
think that's a great place to
appreciate it.
wrap it up, though. Any final
Yep.
thoughts before we wrap this thing up? Just quick final thoughts. Is that
Bruins
it?
are the best ever.
All right. All right. Jeremy's gone. We're gonna wrap this thing up because I've got COVID, so I'm not trying to stay on here forever. So yeah, thanks for tuning in to Off the Monster. Check out our all of our Twitters, all our cruise Twitters. Check that all out. Watch our other episodes. We had a 4-hour one go up the other day. So yeah, and maybe we'll have some Hall of Fame reaction after the ballot comes out too. Maybe we'll do that too. So thanks for tuning in. For Jeremy, who's gone, for Mr. Brown and Mr. Taylor, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in Off the Monster, and we'll see you next time.